today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. And that is, I am going to make a response to a recent video posted by Charles, the humble mechanic. I'm going to link that in the description below. So if you want to go watch that first or watch it after, I strongly encourage you to do so. Now, this video was basically the three major issues or concerns of new technicians. And I'm going to start out by saying I really liked this video that he made. I agreed with most of it. However, when I was watching it, I was like, man, like if we were sitting down and talking about this like over beers or coffee or something like that. Ooh, coffee. I would totally have some input to give him, or at least share how my experiences might have been a little different than his. And I was like, wait a second, there's like a forum for that. It's called YouTube, and here's my chance to do it. So yeah, that being said, let's jump right into it. Number one, the first thing that he brought up was tools. And I actually agree entirely with his perspective on this. So many people coming out of tech school or, so many of the women in my classes will say, hey, I want to start working on my own car, or I think I want to get a job in automotive. What tools should I get? And there are so many people who it's like you walk into a shop and you see I was gonna say my beautiful toolbox. Yeah, this is actually the one I started out with. So it's nothing special. I also have a little snap-on rolling tool cart that I bought much later on in my career. But you walk into these shops and you see these technicians, and my first mentor, with these huge toolboxes full of so many tools, like drawers and drawers and drawers full of like shiny, gorgeous tools, millions of different sockets and all this stuff. And that can be so overwhelming. And basically what Charles said is, hey, don't get yourself into debt, start out with basic hand tools, and I could not agree with this more. I actually have a whole YouTube video, which I'll link below, answering a question that I've been asked before, what tools should I get to start working on my car? And to be honest, y'all, when I got my first job as a mechanic, I didn't even have most of the tools that I recommended in that video. I had basic hand tools, and that was it. Keep in mind that a lot of times when you start out working in a shop, they don't expect, when you get your first job, they don't expect you to have a ton of tools. No one expected me to have a ton of tools. And I love the advice that my first mentor gave to me. Of course, I started working with, my own tools, but a lot of times I would run into issues where, oh my gosh, I need this little Torx bit or this triple square. I was working on Volkswagens. And so I would go to him and be like, hey, can I borrow this? And he had this strict rule with me. He was like, all right, Faye, first time you borrow it, you write it down on a piece of paper here. Second time you borrow it, you start saving money for it. Third time you borrow it, you go buy it. And I used that as a general guideline for so much when I first started out, because there were so many tools I would borrow maybe once and then never again, at least for the couple of years that I worked with him. And so, man, if I had just gone out and bought everything that I needed left and right, my first job, I didn't make very much money. My second job, I didn't make very much money. I would have been trapped in this cycle of debt. So definitely don't feel like you need to start out buying everything. A lot of what you're going to need, you're going to find out on your first week or first month or even first year on the job. And it may not be exactly what you think, and it may not be what I tell you, and it may not be what someone else tells you that you need. Also, specialty tools are not something that a lot of shops expect you to have either. When I worked at the Toyota dealership, I didn't own any special Toyota tools because they had all the Toyota special tools that I needed. I would just check them out as needed, and that was it. And then even when I worked at an independent shop, the independent shop actually, I was the Toyota specialist there, but they used to be a Saab specialty shop. They had just this big wall of Saab specialty tools. They didn't expect us to get them. They would loan them out as needed, or you would just go to the wall and take them off the wall, whichever one you needed at that time. So Don't freak out about tools. Watch my video, listen to what Charles has to say. Start out with the basics. And the basics are what you're gonna be needing to work on your own car with. I'm assuming that you're working on your own car at this point, because if you wanna be a mechanic, you probably like working on your own car. If you don't like working on your own car, you probably shouldn't be a mechanic. But you know, those things that you need to do basic maintenance stuff to your own car. The tools you need to change the oil, the tools you need to do a coolant flush or do your own brakes, basic stuff like that. That's what you're gonna be doing when you start out in a shop. You're not gonna be, you know, doing a timing belt at, you know, your first week and needing that special cam holding tool, you know, so just use your own judgment, sort of trust your intuition, and yeah, like I said, buy those things that you need to do general maintenance to your own vehicle. Okay. Number 2 was actually a whole bunch of questions like wrapped up into like one major question, which is like, how do I know that my first job is going to be the right job for me? A bunch of different questions that sort of combined into this one. For example, we're like, am I going to be changing oil for my first like 2 years? Am I going to get paid flat rate? Am I going to get to do anything cool? Will I actually get mentorship? And I did actually really like Charles's answer to this one as well, but I'm going to add some stuff to it. First of all, a lot of that you'll be able to figure out in your initial interview, right? When you get interviewed, just like something Charles had said, it's not just them interviewing you, it's you interviewing them. And you know, Charles basically gave this advice, like, you know, you're allowed to be picky. You know, this is your life, this is your job, this is your career. Ask those questions. However, coming from like my perspective, I'm gonna say, at least this is what I did. Ladies, take whatever you can get. Your first job is probably not going to be the best job for you. However, you're going to go through a lot of interviews. You're going to go through a lot of trying to get your resumes out there and trying to get a job, and you're probably not going to get that job for various reasons, especially when you're new. So whoever will accept you, whoever will take you, take that job. Maybe it sucks. My first job sucked epically. Not my apprenticeship with Jesse at Banchworks. That was the greatest experience of my life. But my first job, and I'm not going to name names, but I hated it. It was so bad. I actually, still to this day, when I drive by that shop or when I see the owner of that shop, I just like, ugh, I get chills. But you know what? That shop was willing to give me a chance. And it was something that I was able to put on my resume. And when I was done with my time working there, I was able to walk into my next job with confidence, the Toyota dealership, and say, I'm great at this stuff. I have experience. And just having experience, I think, is worth way more than having a degree from a technical school. Of course, I never went to technical school. So I'm self-taught, and I learned through my apprenticeships and unpaid internships. That was that job. So more importantly than the question of, am I going to work flat rate? Is this the perfect job for me? Who cares? Just get a job. Just get a job. And actually, I would say before you even invest the money in a ton of tools, before you even invest the money in tech school, if that's the route that you choose to go, get your first job in industry, because there's so much that you can't possibly imagine just from sitting on your butt, looking at your computer, reading all these things about potential jobs and stuff. I mean, I got my first job in Portland, Oregon. I was constantly being rained on. I was always wet. I was always cold. I was always sick. You know, these are things that you just have to figure out from experience. I don't care if your first job is at Jiffy Lube. That'll at least get you used to sort of the pace of life. I have a really good friend who really wanted to be a mechanic, but he has this horrible response to like the smell of gear oil. Every time he smelled gear oil, he'd puke. So it just wasn't a good job for him. But he didn't know that until he first started out and started like trying. So before you make any sort of crazy investment, just get any job and try. I don't care if you get paid $10 or $9 an hour at Jiffy Lube. I don't care if you get paid flat rate to change oil and rotate tires at, at the Ford dealership or the Hyundai dealership or the Toyota dealership, wherever you choose to go. Get some experience to see if this is going to be the right career path for you. Now, there are obviously some things that are going to change no matter where you work. And one of those is the people you work with. It takes a long time sometimes to find your home. So if your first job sucks, if your second job sucks, if your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, millionth job sucks, keep trying, because like eventually you'll find a place that works well for you. Some of you, of course, know that I actually had a really good experience at the Toyota dealership. And I also had a really great experience at an independent shop. Those took me a lot of trying to get to and to find. And they didn't just, I couldn't have possibly figured out that those were going to be a good place for me based off of my interview. It took me actually getting into the shop, having experiences with my coworkers, and realizing that I was safe and that I was comfortable and that I had mentorship. Some of that you just actually can't figure out until you get there. So be prepared to maybe do a little trial and error with shops, and don't be afraid to have a few different places on your resume. That's okay. If you are somewhere, I mean, I had a general rule of thumb where I'm going to try out this place. I'm going to do my best to stay there for at least a year. So even getting my like fifth job, right? I had 4 jobs in the automotive industry that I worked at for a year. And that's, no one really cared. that was fine. I would almost like assume that the first place that you're going to work is not the place you're going to end up. And I mean, I actually know one person who started out like washing cars at the Volkswagen dealership and worked his way up and was there for a decade. And then I actually met him at my first real job in industry at an independent shop, and he was freaking awesome. But I've never, and he had a great experience there, but I've never actually, that's the only person that I personally know who's had that experience. For myself, a lot of times I had to actually quit a job and find a new job in order to move up. Because a lot of times I would sort of get pigeonholed into this, oh, you're the little girl who's new, you're the little girl who's learning. And they would be sometimes like afraid to have me like try something new, because in their minds I was like the new girl who was learning. And it wasn't until I sort of moved across, or like, got a different job with the same sort of, even like the same description, like, hey, I was an oil change slave here, then I went to be an oil change slave at Toyota. But I went into Toyota with a new perspective, or at least they had a new perspective of me. Sure, I was on the lube rack, but I wasn't the little girl who was learning, right? I was the one who had experience in industry, and I was highly motivated. Oh, and that brings me to another thing, is that also, there's so much, I get this question a lot of, am I going to be changing oil for forever? And the blanket answer I can give you is that I think depends a lot more on you than the shop. So now, of course, I did have this experience where my first job, I was put on the lube rack and I had no chance to learn anything or move up or grow at all. And that's fine. I actually did have that one experienced Volkswagen technician, when he had time, he's always really busy, would always come over and sort of point out things to me, and I would ask him questions like, hey, there's a leak here, I want to recommend this, but I don't want to recommend the wrong thing. And, so I learned actually a lot just from being on the lube rack and taking experience and taking lessons from him. But when I was at the Toyota dealership, once again, I was on a lube rack. My experience, though, was completely different. Now, I did work flat rate at Toyota on the lube rack, and there were a lot of people who that was their first job, and they started out getting paid flat rate on the lube rack, but that wasn't a bad gig though. So I don't want to say, I would caution you about saying no to a job if you're getting paid flat rate, because that's most of the industry. You know, I've had very few jobs where I didn't get paid a flat rate. And even now, I work for myself and I pay myself flat rate because that's just the industry standard. So it's almost like better if you get a chance to experience that and realize that there are inherent flaws with it. There are things that are always going to be unfair about it. Can you deal with it? Yeah? Oh, okay. Then keep on going. But anyways, what would happen at Toyota is like, you know, everyone would get there on the lube rack, who, you know, was supposed to be there, you know, get there at like 7 as soon as the first car rolled in. Well, I didn't. I got there early, even though I didn't get paid being there early. But I would sort of walk around, talk to the master techs, talk to them about their tools, talk to them about what jobs they had going on, ask them questions while they weren't busy. You know, a lot of them would get there early too, drink their morning coffee. Drink their morning coffee, read the newspaper, like sort of get settled into the day, you know, watch YouTube video, who knows, like, but they would sort of get there, get comfortable and get ready for their day that way. And so I was like, oh, that's what they're getting paid flat rate too. That's what they're doing. That's what I'm going to do. Then cars would sort of stop coming in for oil changes around 4. All the other lube techs would leave. I wouldn't, I would stay. And sometimes, right, there wasn't anything to do. So I'd clean my area. And when my area is clean, you know, then I'd go and sort of wander around the shop and just sort of see what anyone else is doing, ask the higher level techs, hey, you know, do you need help? If they were just like stuck underneath a dash or something, like, hey, you know, is that something I can help with? I'm pretty small. Can I pass you some tools, you know, or whatever? And sort of just show that I was extremely motivated to learn. And as a result, I would end up helping them. I would end up learning things. I mean, I remember my 3rd week or maybe even 2nd week on the job, pulling out this dash for in a Lexus and doing some wiring repair with the senior technician at Toyota. And as a result then, when the higher level techs were really busy and there was this car, you know, a service advisor had sold a job on it and needed it done right away, and the higher level techs weren't available, hey, well, Faye's on the lube rack, but she can do it. You know, let's give it to her. And then, of course, who's promoted first, right? Then lastly, ASE certifications. Oh, y'all, I only have 1 and I got it recently. Oh, no, that's wrong. I have 2. I just haven't gotten my certificate in the mail. And actually in a couple weeks, I'm gonna be taking my 3rd one, so awesome. Why the heck am I getting them? Because my employer doesn't care. I'm my employer. Actually, I do care. I care a lot. I am gonna highly recommend though that you get them. So recently I started up an all-female ASE study group and it's freaking awesome. But one thing that I hear is all the ladies that have been like out of tech school for a while say, I wish I had just taken them fresh out of tech school. It would have been so much easier. So if you're in tech school right now and you're learning with the book, that's the best time to take them. I highly recommend you just take them and you get them out of the way. Now, it might not matter so much for most of you watching this. Ladies, the more credentials, the more that you can have proving that you are motivated, dedicated, and smart, the better. I wish I had had these. I didn't even know what these were, of course, because remember, I didn't go to school. Now, even though I've been doing this for a decade, the reason why I'm getting these is still because I want to prove that I know what I'm talking about. And actually, even so, I mean, I've been doing brakes for like forever. I didn't just walk into this, well, actually, I did. I walked into the testing facility. I'm like, I'm just going to take brakes. No, you can't. I failed. You've got to actually read the book. But I learned a lot. I learned so much from reading the book. Stuff that you just can't learn by doing, that actually, like, you know, you have to learn by reading the book. So there's so much like interesting stuff that I've been learning to like sort of boost what I already know. But not only that, if there is anything that you can do to help yourself get a job, do it. You know? So I would highly actually recommend that you get ASE certified, even if you only have one, even if you just get the G1. You know, that would be a great place to start. Put that little badge, you know, on your shop shirt. Ooh, I should put mine. Oh. Yeah. So that little badge on your shop shirt, and hang that certification with pride on your toolbox. And that not only actually helps my confidence, it also helps when you have a customer who meets you. A lot of times I've had customers meet me and they're like, oh, you're the one working on my car? And I'll be like, yeah, I've been doing this for, well, I mean, I'll say a decade now, but back in the day, yeah, I've been working on cars and shops for like 5 years. I'm ASE certified. I mean, I was never able to say that, but you know, when you're able to say that and prove yourself to your customers, and then they have that confidence in you, that's gold. Because there's nothing that hurts your confidence than your customers doubting your ability, and your customers going up to your service advisor and being like, yeah, can actually someone else work on my car? Because I don't know if I trust her working on my car. Like that really hurts. So I would highly recommend that you get them. Yeah, so yes, you need 2 years of experience to actually like get them, to actually have them and be certified. But I guess, I mean, I wouldn't know, but from what I hear, one of those years can be tech school. And another one of those years can be apprenticeship, even if it's an unpaid apprenticeship or an unpaid internship. Just a year of shop experience. If someone's willing to sign off for you, then that counts. So say you've been helping out in a friend's shop for, you know, part-time, even for like the past year. Well, that will help, and that can help get your G1 certification. And then that can help you get your first job, even if it's just changing oil. So yeah, anyways. I hope this video was helpful. If you have no idea why the heck I made this video, go watch Charles's video so you understand where I'm coming from here. And if you have any input of your own, please feel free to leave that in the description below and let me know if this was helpful for you. Yeah, thanks y'all. See you in my next video. Bye!